Here's a tech story, Davey.
Okay.
That I don't know. I bring this up because it fascinates me, it intrigues me, and I think more people should know about this sort of thing. But did you know that the reason that we have the USB-C charging on our iPhones now is because of the EU?
No.
And did you know the reason that when we go to certain websites, or most websites actually, when they ask you for permission for your cookies or to manage preferences or whatever, it's because of the EU?
No, I didn't know that.
That's why. And did you know that the EU currently now is trying to pressure Apple into a backdoor for encryption?
No.
That's a pretty big deal, wouldn't you say? If the EU had a back door into your digital devices?
It just means your life is laid open to people, right?
Well,
they wouldn't be able to hack that, would they, somebody? And
it brings up a lot of interesting questions, doesn't it?
Yeah. It sure
so
does.
I want to introduce Kyle Moran, who is a recent grad at the University of Rhode Island, studies political science and history. He's been covering a lot of this stuff that's happening in the EU, this mandate that they want. And he's got an article in Real Clear Markets talking about how the EU is kind of pressuring Apple into giving them a backdoor into the encryption. And he's also a member of Young Voices. He joins us now. So what is the story here, Kyle? Welcome to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nonsense going on from Europe, both in the UK and from the EU itself. So to your point about the back door, the UK over the last few months has been mandating that Apple provide a back door so that the government can bypass advanced encryption into iCloud, which includes text messages, photos, emails, or whatever. So that can be that comes with a whole host of issues, because if you have a back door for the government to exploit, that is not exclusive to the government. Anyone who knows about this backdoor can exploit it for themselves. So that's something that could definitely be hacked. Secondly, there's the EU side of things, in which they passed something called the Digital Markets Act in the aim of making interoperability easier between different devices. So if you have an Android, it'll work better with a Mac or vice versa. But the issue with this is it's allowing all these other tech companies with really bad privacy reputations, looking specifically at Meta here, to allow to request access to a bunch of data that Apple has mandated that other companies cannot get a hold of. Meta has made 15 of these requests for stuff including your text messages, your call logs, every photo you take, and including even passwords. So when you see all of this coming together, you just got to think to yourself, like, what is going on over there? And this could have so many possibilities of going wrong.
One of the reasons why I think this is such an important topic is because if the EU gets what it wants, it has ripples over the rest of the planet, just like with the GDPR, which is the whole cookies thing that I had mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. That's for our general audience. And the USB-C thing, because the EU did it, and then the US saw, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And it just kind of set the new standard for everything. Now, that was welcome. Don't misunderstand, for me. that was welcome to me.
I do have to admit, I do appreciate the USB-C universality of it. Thankfully, I will say the hardware side of things is going to be a bit different, because when they mandated USB-C, Apple said it's not worth it to make two different iPhones, one for Europe, one for the US, with the correct chargers for the two countries. So they just rolled out USB-C across the board. Thankfully, with this right now, it's just impacting EU and UK users, respectively, so that Americans are not impacted yet. But given how aggressively they've been going after this stuff, I'm concerned about it coming here, and I'm concerned about it impacting us even from over there.
Yeah, I remember in the past, the U.S. has wanted a backdoor as well. I think there was a terrorist attack or a shooting or something like that in California several years back.
Yeah, I remember
and they
that.
really wanted into this guy's iPhone so that they could get more evidence and all that stuff. And Apple actually stood up and they said, no, we can't do that, because if we did that for you, we have to do that every single time that you'd want it.
Exactly. Apple has had a good track record on privacy, on encryption, on all of this. It's not a golden reputation, but compared to Facebook and Google, it's been outstanding. And the EU's attempt to make those devices more compatible with Android devices and Windows PCs and whatnot has allowed all these other companies to request access to this data, which is, as we can see, going to be a problem.
Kyle Moran is a recent grad at the University of Rhode Island. He's contributed to the American Enterprise Institute's Critical Threats Project, and he joins us on 710 KURV as we talk about EU trying to get a backdoor into the encryption of Apple. David, your question. Go ahead.
Is the reason, what's the stated reason that the European Union and the UK want what I liken to, if I understand this, an open door? They want to be able to come and go, look through your stuff whenever, at their discretion, if I hear you right. In the U.S., theoretically, the cops can't, I mean, they're confined to what they can and cannot do when it comes to looking through your stuff. If you liken your computer to a closet, they can't come look through your closet just because they want to see what kind of clothes you're wearing. Tell me where I'm right or wrong.
You're right there. So the UK, their approach on the encryption side of things is driven because of terrorism. The U.S. authorities do not have this ability, and I hope they never get it. All respect for law enforcement, but being able to just open up somebody's entire iMessage history is not something that I think anyone should have without a warrant, and does open up a huge vulnerability for hackers. Secondly, the EU side of things, it was less malicious, I will say, because the EU was trying to make, so like if I have an Android phone with a Mac computer, the two don't work well together. And that is intentionally Apple trying to make it harder and makes you want to buy their stuff. So the EU is trying to regulate them into cooperating more with these other companies. So if you have an Android phone, your MacBook will work better with it. But because they're making them work together, it has allowed companies like Meta to request access to all of this data that Apple has historically guarded very safely, because Apple does take privacy very seriously.
Well, Apple,
So
Can you give us another example of that? Because that part is kind of fuzzy to me.
Yeah, so Meta alone has made 15 different legal requests for different data sets, including the ability to read every message you send, track every phone call you make, and scan every photo that you
That's
take
all?
as well. I think
why don't they just call it Chinese? They say the Chinese have all that stuff. They can get it that way.
I know. Yeah, I know. So it's really quite expansive. That's taken right out of, Apple published a white paper on this when they were opposing the Digital Markets Act, and they are taking the EU to court over this now because it is just so expansive.
What do you think happens, or can you paint us a picture real quickly, because I got about a minute here. I know this might be tough. So if, let's say EU gets the back door, right? There's no such thing as a secure back door in the tech world.
Correct. There is no way to securely build one. You're completely right. If there is something for the UK to access everything with a backdoor, or if the EU takes that approach either, that would be pretty disastrous in my opinion. And you definitely will see, especially with the rise of AI-designed phishing attacks and malware attacks, I mean, this stuff is going to get worse and worse, and we can see that with every year now. So it's a nightmare for me.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. Appreciate it. Kyle
Thank
Moran, check out his article at realclearmarkets.com. Apple pushes back as the EU attacks its precious property. You're listening to 710 KURV.